Guys, this is Resolute. Welcome to Man Talk. I'm your founder and host, Vince Miller. We're excited to be with you today. We're in our new series entitled 30 Virtues That Build a Man. Today we're looking at the topic of action, how a man can stop procrastinating and inspire some stinking action in his life.
We need it.
We need it. John, welcome to the show. Glad to have you again.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. So, this week we were talking about procrastination. We were talking about action, what it looks like in a man's life in the short little video clip we presented on Monday. And, of course, that inspired a lot of conversation online. But I think I really want to begin today with the idea or the thought that I think men have a hard time moving into action. We by nature, most human beings procrastinate, right? And therefore we struggle to move things into action. And I think, John, that some of this begins with us being like afraid. We're just simply scared. There's this impulse that we find in our own heart sometimes when we look out at injustice or sin or a world that feels like it's oppressing us. I think guys are scared sometimes to act. What's your thought on that?
I mean, I think you're right. We're kind of stuck in our own kind of little bubble, and we just don't really want to come out and I don't take a risk, because we're protecting our pride. At least I think that I am. I would say I definitely have issues with taking the right action because it's scary sometimes.
Yeah, some of it relates to procrastinating, right? Putting things off, but it really leads me to asking the questions on why I put things off, right? Because there's things that I put off. There's things that you've put off. I mean, even in the last week, you probably put something off.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Can you think of one thing that you've not done this last week that you should have done?
My leaky faucets in my house, for example, right? I had to wait till my dad came and helped me fix the leaky faucets.
Yeah. I had this guy sit in one of our groups once, and he said he had failed to address a piece of trim board in his house for over 5 years.
I've got one of those.
You have one of those too. So, and it's just this ominous thing, right? That you see it, and then after a while, it kind of goes away, doesn't it? Have you ever noticed that? Like you put something off, and it just kind of it goes away over a period of time, and then you don't see it. But you invite someone over to your house. They hear the leaky faucets. They see the trim that's missing, right? They
100%.
notice it right away. And I think that we put these things off thinking they're going to go away, but other people see them, right?
Absolutely. And sometimes they turn into just being real painful moments in our life. I mean, I knew I had a problem with procrastination when I was about 25, and I waited for years to get my wisdom teeth extracted. I literally waited until my wisdom teeth were pushing my other teeth sideways in the back of my mouth, where it got so painful I had to go get them extracted, but it permanently damaged the other teeth. And I knew I had a problem.
Okay, so that brings up a really valid point, and I think people listening today really need to grab onto this. Really, we procrastinate when there isn't a lot of pain, right? We don't really feel the pain of the moment. We let the drippy faucet go. We let the trim board go. We put things off until we start to experience pain. Then we act, right? Then we act, and it brings us out of that stage of procrastination, whatever procrastination means. But it pushes us, and it causes us, when we experience pain, to do something about it. I think this is a challenge almost for all men, because I think apathy is one of our greatest sins. I think the greatest sin of man is to be silent and to say nothing and to do nothing in the face of sin. And you can call it procrastination, but it might be better dubbed something like apathy. We might call it indifference. You call it a lot of different words, but I think that really is the core challenge for men. And we live in a world today, I think, that is quietly trying to figure out a way to methodically silence, I think, the Christian male voice. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I think you make a really good point, because usually Christian men are speaking truth, and the world doesn't want to hear that. I mean, it can be offensive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things, even in the news today, I probably won't even reference here because it's so like controversial.
Or polarizing.
Exactly. Yeah. Polarizing is a good word.
Yeah, and we can have these kinds of dialogues, like you and I, right? But to have those dialogues publicly, we're kind of, I think, silently scared of having an opinion, therefore being judged. So here's an example of it. Like, I'm not great at details. Okay, that's just something I'm not great at. But me just saying that publicly out loud subjects me to judgment by you. Right? Of course.
That's good. That's a
And-
good point. Like
yeah.
you have a weakness.
I have a weakness, and as
I'm
soon
gonna
as
exploit that.
and you might, me being vulnerable, you might exploit that, take advantage of me, and seek to harm me. I think we see this pattern in politics today, in government today, in the world today, in educational institutions today, where people are afraid to speak up because they're afraid that someone's going to attack them, judge them, eviscerate them, make fun of them. And we're just kind of people in process. And these fears cause us to feel like a minority sometimes. Therefore, we act less.
And then a lot of times it's just common sense, like things that we might speak up about, and yet those common sense words are now making us victim to, criticism.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very challenging. I just think that apathy leaves us really wanting, sometimes. And sometimes it takes two men like this sitting down having a conversation, right, to kind of process those ideas and feel more bold and secure in them.
Yeah, I would say only within the context of a relationship do I ever get moved from apathy to action. Usually it's pain, or it's another guy like you who actually motivates me to take action.
Yeah.
So I just have a question for you.
Yeah.
When it comes to procrastination, we always think of it as being a bad thing. Are there any positive aspects?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, but I think there are positive aspects to procrastinating, of course, right? That's why we're procrastinating, is all the positive rewards, right? And that's what's dangerous about it, I think, is when you procrastinate, you're actually rewarding yourself. Like, for example, I hate mowing my lawn. Everybody knows it. I hate mowing my lawn. I don't want to mow it. I never want to mow it ever again. My sons are mowing it right now, but as soon as the sons move out of the house, I promise you, somebody else will be mowing my lawn. If I was left out there to mow it, I would put it off and put it off and put it off, because I feel that it's the poorest representation of manhood today is me out there pushing my lawnmower, killing my grass for 3 hours every Saturday. It's a big waste of time to me, and so I hate doing it. So I'll do anything I can to put it off, right? Of course, the reward for putting it off is doing other things. That's the reward for procrastinating.
Yep.
And of course, I think that's what's so dangerous about it. We get caught in these cycles where we would prefer to do something else, and it exposes something, to be quite honest with you. It exposes what we really value. When we procrastinate, we're not only being rewarded, but it exposes what we really care about, right?
So is it okay to not mow your lawn to do those other things? Because I'm with you.
Yeah,
I have the longest lawn in the neighborhood,
I think in some cases yes, in some cases no. But it's not okay to not ask yourself why you're choosing not to do it. That's what I think, is that, like, for example, I think men need to fight an impulse of procrastinating in their life, and they need to fight it with some action. But I think it's even more important to fight it by asking themselves that really valuable introspective question, which is, why am I putting it off, right? Like, I think if we're ever going to move through apathy into action, right? If we're ever going to move from autonomy, right, into action and accountability in our life, then we're going to have to, like, really resolve in our own heart that there's reasons why we're doing things and there's reasons why we're not. And the only way to attack it is to ask ourselves that very personal question, why am I putting this off? And I think that's what men avoid doing until there's enough pain.
Yep.
And then when there's enough pain, then we start to deal with it. And, sometimes then it's sadly a little bit too late.
I love that you just said, feel that procrastination a little bit, where it's almost like right when that impulse happens where you want to procrastinate, that's the moment we should just stand up and fight and go mow the lawn if you feel it. If you're probably feeling it, you probably should just go do it and get it done.
Or
with,
pay
right?
somebody else to get it done. For God's
There you
sake.
go. I like it.
Just do something.
Right.
That's why I constantly say to guys, get off the bench and into the game, because I think we need to fight this internal impulse to sit there in a moment of fear or lack of conviction and to do nothing with it. And I think what we need to do is just take some personal inventory, ask ourselves why are we putting it off, and then begin to move that into action by developing a plan, taking small steps. It doesn't have to be big steps, but taking small steps to address it. And if we can answer the why question, then we can probably figure out a way that we can triangulate the issue, right, and address it. So if I can confess to myself that I don't like mowing the lawn because I feel like it's a waste of time every Saturday, then I know that, man, the value to me is not wasting my time. So let's just pay someone to do it.
I like it.
Right? Why not? Why not?
So
and then I don't have to procrastinate anymore.
take action to have somebody else take action.
Yeah, take action, delegate, give it to my boys, make someone do it that I know maybe wants to get paid to do it, or maybe they need to learn valuable lessons from themselves as well. So, I know I have little procrastinators in the house too. They're called children, right? And we put things off, but I think in all ways, in all shapes, in all forms, we all struggle with this. So I think the steps would be, know why you're putting something off first. And number two, beginning to address that impulse to inaction by taking action in small steps. And then number three, I think you just get someone to hold you accountable to not putting it off so you can get some trajectory and fight procrastination and live with some action in your life.
I would say that last one right there is usually the thing that actually gets me to take action the most in life, is just having another man in my life to say, what are you going to do this week to change that thing that you said you had a problem with? Like, they're able to check in and remind you and kind of give you that positive accountability.
Right. Yeah, it could be positive accountability, or it could be just shaming you publicly, right? Like, for your piece of trim that isn't fixed or your leaky faucet, you better go get that done, man.
Yeah.
So I know that I'll be asking you next week if you got it done. But see, now you've just made something public. You can't put it off any longer.
Yep.
So you're now going to address it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to mention it until you get it done.
That's such a good hack.
Yeah, it is. It's a little life hack right there, and it's kind of like a little polite face spanking, and you get it once, and you're like, I don't want that again, and so it just helps. So anyway, guys, thanks for being with us today. It's been our great pleasure to have you on Man Talk. Of course, I want to encourage you today to not do nothing. If you do nothing, you're contributing to the problem. And of course, I would encourage you today to pick up your copy of 30 Virtues That Build a Man. You got to get this in your hand. You got to sit down with another guy, just like John and I were sitting down together today. Fight apathy in your life. Fight the impulse to do nothing and say nothing, and step into a life of action as a Christian man. Build accountability with another brother, and watch your life grow. So guys, get off the bench, get into the game, and I'll see you right back here next time on another edition of Man Talk.